Did you know there are 7 major steps to take when moving to Spain? There's even one step that many people skip, which causes them issues down the road. Let's speak to the owner of the relocation company moving to Spain about these critical steps to make your dream a reality. First, let's start with the end in mind. Why do people love living in Spain?
The top reasons people tell us, and the top reasons why we love living here, is lifestyle. The sun shines over 300 days of the year. There's beaches, every kind of thing you would want. Beaches, mountains, beauty, wherever you are. And there's very little rain. So if you think about it from the weather perspective, culture is unbelievable. I mean, anyone that's been to Barcelona, Madrid, any of those cities knows that there's just a lot of culture on your doorstep. Food. Here in Spain, we've got many restaurants in the top 100 in the world, and it's cheap. I mean, the big thing is that it's relatively cheap compared to other countries. Yeah. And then the thing we love is that it's right in the center of Europe. So, $50 and we're in Paris, we're in Lisbon, we're all over the place. The last thing is generally the people are so welcoming and friendly. Those are the key reasons. Many more, but... Yeah.
And I think we'll kind of approach those as we go down kind of the list of what it takes to move to Spain step by step. But let's start with like the pre-move. You've identified 3 really important things that people need to get their head around. What are those 3 things that people need to consider before they make the move to Spain?
Look, Josh, we come across a lot of people who are right down the line of looking at a house and choosing a house to live in, but they actually haven't gone to the beginning and thought, can I actually move to Spain? So the very first one is your visa or your residency permit. If you are lucky enough to have an EU passport, it's pretty easy. You can come straight here. It's a bit of paperwork to be done. But if you've got only like US or UK passports, you're going to need to get one of the visas. We had a couple the other day. I almost wanted to cry myself, but I did some coaching with them, and in the background they had boxes packed. They were ready to go. They'd booked their flights and everything, and they'd only just realized that they couldn't get the visa that they thought they could get, the digital nomad visa. So yeah, don't make that mistake. First thing you need to do is get your visa, and the 3 main ones are the digital nomad visa. It's relatively new. That's for people that want to come to Spain and work, either for a non-Spanish company or for yourself, where 80% of your work is outside Spain. In other words, you're not going to be taking jobs away from other people. Then there's the non-lucrative visa. That's for retirees, I guess. But also, there's many people that can afford to live in Spain. As I said, it's much cheaper than elsewhere, that are much younger, that don't intend on working for a couple of years. So that's called the non-lucrative visa. We've got a golden visa too, like you guys in Portugal, but unfortunately it's ending on April 3rd. So we've got quite a few people trying to slide in there before it ends. And I guess the last one is the student visa. There's a lot of people that come over here to either learn Spanish or do an arts post-grad degree or graduate degree, something like that. So yeah, those are the most common ones.
Can I ask you a couple points of clarification on a few of the visas? So the first one with the golden visa ending at the beginning of April, is that right? You said April 3rd? Yeah, April 3rd. You need to have your application in before April 3rd?
That's right.
Okay.
As
so you could still have the process.
Absolutely, then you're fine. So people who already have like a house in mind, if they're going to do the property route, they'll be okay to get it in. But there are other routes such as investment, so you can make an investment of up to $1 million and you can easily get it in before April 3rd. But if you're only starting to look for housing now, I think it's tricky, a little bit ambitious.
Yeah. And then what about the student visa? Is there an age limit? Like sometimes it's 25, 26.
No, not at all, actually. No, there's no age limit. So you get your visa for 1 year and then they're getting a little bit tight. They've just announced new changes. You need to pass to get the next year. Yeah, they're tightening up on that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. And then the couple that you did the coaching with, what was the reason they got denied their digital nomad visa?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and people should know this. So the Spanish government has agreements with many countries around Social Security. Social Security is, the payment that they need to basically look after health, education, etc. for the people that live here. If you're in the UK, you work for a UK company, you can come here. There's an agreement between the countries that they'll cover their Social Security costs. Unfortunately, the US and Spain have not come to an agreement so far. So if you're a W2 or the W8, employee, then you cannot be a digital nomad visa. So what people are doing is they're changing to be a 1099, which is the kind of contractor, still working for the same company, but they're working as a 1099 employee, and that's perfectly fine. So that's how people are getting around it.
Okay.
But I really highly recommend that you speak to an immigration lawyer. We do 30-minute consultations. Just make sure that you can do what you think you can do, and they'll clarify everything for you.
Great advice. All right. So that's topic one of the three that we need to cover before moving to Spain. So what's the second one that people should consider?
Well, the second one is tax. And a lot of people skip this one. But if you are unsure how much tax you're going to pay, in my opinion, you don't know what lifestyle you're going to have here. So you don't know what house you can afford. And a lot of people think that taxes are really high in Spain, but we've found that it's actually not that bad if you have a look at the entire picture. And also you've got to remember that things are a lot cheaper here than other places in the world. So I think you've got to look at the whole picture. There's also a lot of opportunities that many people don't know about. We have a thing called the Beckham tax regime. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's named after David Beckham, the famous footballer, but it's for people that are coming to Spain to work here, either for a Spanish company, for themselves as digital nomads actually, or various other reasons. And you can get like very favorable tax, like a flat 24% for 5 to 6 years, depending on your situation. So there's great opportunities like that. The other big thing is that taxes differ region by region. So you need to know what you're going to pay if you live in Madrid versus Barcelona, for example. Barcelona tends to have higher levels of tax than Madrid, for example.
Right.
Just kind of understanding that is really important before you decide, I'm moving to Barcelona or I'm moving to Madrid. Things like wealth tax doesn't exist in Madrid, but there is a wealth tax in Barcelona. Inheritance taxes, if that's applicable to you, are different depending on where you live. So again, we highly recommend. Tax is such a personal thing. It depends how much you earn, what your wealth is across the world. Again, I really recommend you talk to an expert to get your viewpoint right and your options together.
What's the third thing that people need to look at?
So health insurance here. Almost everyone, I would say 90% of people have to get private health insurance for at least the first year. The good thing is that health insurance is pretty reasonable compared to other countries, again, especially older people. There's a lot of insurance companies that won't insure you if you're over kind of 70, 80. If you have a pre-existing condition, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, etc., it's quite difficult, not impossible. We can normally find something for people, but often that puts people off completely and they're unable to move to Spain and get a visa. So make sure you can get those three things right before you start looking at like housing or where you're going to move to, or all the fun stuff.
Okay. So we know that we can get the visa that we want to get. We have our head wrapped around the taxes that we're going to pay, more or less. We haven't chosen our region yet to see what taxes apply. And then we have chosen a health insurance. So now the fun begins. We're ready to move to Spain. We're ready to decide where to live. What do you think? Where do most expats live?
Look, so every year we do a bit of a index. We have a look at where all the expats are around Spain. We also have a look at Google and where people are searching. And it's quite interesting. Right now, in the last one that we did, most Americans live in Madrid, number one. Second is Malaga, and third is Barcelona. However, in the last year, there's been more searches for Valencia than anything. So we did our last index in July last year. I'm so excited to do our next index to see if that's changed. I'm almost positive Valencia is going to be in the top 3. As for UK, the top is Alicante region, then Malaga, and then Almeria, which is also down south in Andalusia. So they tend to stay around the
beaches,
the beach areas.
Yeah. That's actually not a surprise for me, because I think it's pretty similar here in Portugal, where the British communities tend to be as far south as you can go and near the warmest weather with the sandiest of beaches. So,
and the least
that
rain.
makes sense. The least rain as well. Yeah, they're trying to escape that. It's really surprising to me that so many Americans live in Madrid. What do you think the draw is there?
I think a lot of people move for work. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of the big companies are centered there.
Okay.
And then, of course, Barcelona is up there for the same reason. So a lot of people moving for work have to be in the big centers, right? Malaga, though, is unbelievable. It's growing as a center of commerce, I guess, and they're really trying to encourage companies to move down there. So watch this space. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's really interesting.
Do you personally have any hidden gems where it's like, all right, if this person is not working, but they're wanting to retire, they should maybe move here because of affordability or lifestyle or like less crowds, I guess?
Well, a lot of people enjoy the coastline, as do we. A lot of retirees like being on the coast. In between the big centers are where you're going to find the gems, really. So, if you look at kind of Valencia, Alicante, or that whole region, there's some amazing gems like Altea. It's like a tiny, small village, but it is absolutely stunning and friendly and much cheaper than living in a big city like Valencia, right? So I always think if you don't have to live near an international airport or a big city, try and look in between those big places. And also, if you're happy to live a little bit inland, you won't believe the property deals that you can get. Really, it's unbelievable. We've just found a little company called Snoop Spain. And that's exactly what they do. They look for like gems, like just inland of the beach. And we're looking at 2-bedroom, beautiful houses for like $199 kind of thing, So yeah, there are gems to be had, but it's got to be outside the main centers, right?
We'll come on to kind of the housing situation in just a second, but I would like people to realize that you have amazing connectivity in Spain, whether it's via train or bus as well. So living in one of these like secondary or tertiary cities or towns isn't so bad. You have Renfe and you have Alsa and Flixbus now. The connectivity is huge.
It's unbelievable. I was actually reading yesterday that Spain has the best train system in Europe at the moment.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm sure Portugal's the same, but I think the whole of the EU are really focused on these targets around emissions, right? So they're trying to get people onto trains instead of flying everywhere. So there's all these high-speed trains. They've just launched Barcelona to Malaga, 6 hours, which is amazing. So I love trains. I much prefer it to flying because you can like walk around. I can do a bit of work, There's other great stuff. I like the government, when there was a cost of living crisis a few years ago, they gave us free travel as residents on the Renfe train system within a certain area around where we lived. They've just renewed that. So I just got my ticket. It's €10 for 6 months. And I can go in and out of Barcelona. We live like 45 minutes south of Barcelona. I can go in and out as much as I want for the next 6 months, which is pretty amazing, right?
Amazing.
And then, yes, as you say, there's buses everywhere. There's flight connectivity between all the even tiny cities like, Bilbao, etc. We can fly there. So
okay. Well, you brought up this hot word crisis, and you said that there was a cost of living crisis a few years ago, and now Spain is currently experiencing a housing crisis. That really needs to be the next thing we talk about because we've decided where to live. Now we need to have a place to rent or buy. Let's talk a bit about that. Tell us about the housing crisis.
It is, I'm not going to lie, it is a bit of a challenge at the moment. Along the lines of the cost of living crisis from a couple of years ago. And listen, it happened all over the world. And in Europe, it was related a lot to, Ukraine, etc. What they tried to do was they implemented a new housing law, May last year, which was to protect tenants. But unfortunately, what it did was change landlords from providing long-term leases into short-term leases because they were able then to increase rents quite often, like every 11 months, versus being locked into 5 to 7 year rentals, right? Unfortunately, that means the stock of long-term rentals is down by like 25% or something. As you know, there's been a lot of talk about tourism and the impacts of that. Spain had a massive increase in tourism again this year.
Yeah.
But the bright side is you can still find a place. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
The advice we always give people is come here on a short-term rental, like a month or a 2-month rentals. There's quite a few options out there and websites out there that can help you. You could even use Airbnb or booking.com. And then once you get here, go and visit all of the suburbs. I don't think you know which suburb you want to move to until you've visited there. That's my point of view, you know.
Sure.
You enjoy the scene, the restaurants, how close the schools that you need, etc. And then once you're here, go and visit real estate agents yourself, have a look up with the Idealister and Fotocasa, and have your deposit ready. Because there will be 5 people behind you. So when you walk in and you find a place that you want, be ready to transfer your deposit that day. So it is a bit of a competition there, but I don't know anybody that's not found a place that they've wanted, right? So, yeah.
Okay. And is that 1 month rent for deposit or more than one?
It's usually 2 months rent, which covers breakages or whatever, which you get back at the end. You used to have, for long-term rentals, you used to have to pay the agency 1 month of rent. And with the changes in the housing law, you no longer pay that. The landlord pays that. So that's another reason why the landlord's wanting short-term rentals. So you'll find on those websites, there's many 11-month rentals. And now you know the reason why.
Okay. So an 11-month rental is a short-term rental.
That's right. So you pay a month of the agency fee, and then every 11 months your rent goes up.
The interesting comparison between the process in Portugal and Spain is that Spain, you can actually go without having to have a rental contract or having purchased a house. So that's nice. In Portugal, you have to already have something on your visa application.
I know, it's really strange. And yeah, I want to ask you about that another time. I don't know how people actually get around that. But anyway, that's for another time, right?
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned about be ready to transfer your deposit. So let's talk about banking. What's banking like in Spain?
Look, to pay your rent, to pay taxes, you need to have an IBAN. An IBAN is just simply a Spanish bank account. Maybe you can put it in your resources section, but we do an index. We were going to do it every year, but literally we update it every 3 months because there seems to be changes in what every bank is providing, as well as feedback that we get. Recently, one of the banks had some security issues, so we needed to update that. So you need your bank here in Spain. There's many digital banks nowadays like N26 that work just fine for like rent, etc. However, the tax man wants you to have a Spanish bank to pay taxes. But what we recommend is using something like Wise, a transfer facility. So if you've got your bank in your home country, you can transfer very quickly your housing deposit using Wise. Their bank fees are pretty low. I think you guys recommend them as well. Your bank fees are low.
Yeah, we use them.
And usually their foreign exchange rates are pretty easy. We usually recommend using anything more than about 50 grand. We recommend using a foreign exchange broker because they can help you with things like anti-money laundering and stoppages around that kind of thing. So yeah, that's generally what we recommend.
And you get to talk to a live person, right? As opposed to just doing it digitally.
Yeah, when it's a lot of money, it's quite scary to do it digitally, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Whereas having someone there, like an account manager, holding your hand through the whole process. There's also like clever financial tactics like hedging as well. So at the moment, the US dollar versus the euro is kind of up and down. It can set your rate. And if you need the money only in 6 months' time, at least you know that you've got the security of it being at that same rate. So we recommend that. I don't know about you guys, but
we use the transfer agent to purchase our house here in Portugal.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
The next step would then be like, how do we move our possessions and what about pets? Because many people that we know are moving with pets.
Spain has basic requirements when you bring a pet in here. It's nothing difficult. And there's a lot of vets in every country around the world that can walk you through it. So it's things like rabies shots, an up-to-date chip in their neck, a pet passport. Either you can bring the pets with you yourself and use a vet that knows what they're doing to walk you through and make sure that they're all ready to come in. You need to come into a port that accepts animals, which is the big ones, like Barcelona, Madrid, etc. And so many of our clients actually bring them with them on flights. There's a lot of flights from the States and UK that allow you to bring your pets on board with you, smaller animals on board, if they're bigger in the hold. There's pet relocation companies. There's even a boat called the Queen Mary.
That's right.
That you can book. I think you need at least a year in advance to book that, where you can go with your animals and walk with them, and it's kind of a fun adventure. Some of our clients use private jets to bring their pets across.
We've heard of that as well.
Yeah. I got a quote from a client the other day. That's about 10 grand, I think, to bring your pets over. From the UK, there's the ferries. Bringing pets over on the ferries are just absolutely perfect with your car, so we find that's the easiest for them. About your possessions, this is again our point of view, but bring the things you love. Don't bring electronics if you're in the US. Lots of stuff's not going to work. It costs a lot of money to bring your stuff over here when you can buy TVs and electronics pretty cheaply. Even large furniture, right, is pretty reasonable over here. So that's always our recommendation. Bring what you love, your paintings, your, things that are special to you. That's generally what we recommend around bringing your stuff.
Is it tough getting things through customs?
No.
Like from the US, Canada, UK?
You have to bring it in within a certain time period, though. I think it's a year. It was when we came across, but you have to bring your stuff over within a year to not pay customs on it. You're not allowed bringing things like, alcohol, wine, etc., all that stuff. But there's certain things you can't bring over. But generally, if you bring it within a year, you're fine.
Tell us about the roadmap that you have to help people make this move come to reality.
Yeah, well, we created it because a lot of people, they feel kind of overwhelmed because there's a lot of stuff to think about. So what the roadmap does is it sends you an email every day. So every day we'll educate you on a particular subject. And we ask you a whole lot of questions in the beginning so that you're getting information that's specific to you. So if you're a student, you're going to get information on student visa. If you're retiree, you'll get information on the visa, that kind of thing. Yeah, at the end of 10 days, you've got some information to help you understand what's required. And then we have a checklist, which is a lot more detailed after that. Give you access to a checklist, which takes you through the real details of everything. And we've got a ton of free guides on every single subject, which takes you through the absolute details. We also have packages. So if you want more help than just that, our packages are like giving you real one-on-one guidance. You'll get to speak to our immigration lawyer, our tax person. You'll have coaching with us, one-on-one coaching like we're doing now, Josh, on absolutely everything, any question that you have. We have some amazing financial advisors that will give you ideas and have saved some of our clients a lot of money on things like when to sell your house. So, you don't pay capital gains tax. What money to bring over, when to bring money over, and all that kind of thing. So you get that in the package. You get to speak to our foreign exchange broker, get guidance on that, and access to all our tools. So we also have like a cost of living calculator, which is quite nice because you can compare how much does my life in my current country cost compared to whether I move to Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, etc. So we've got lots of great little tools like that in the package as well.
Awesome. And we'll put links to that in the description section below for people that are interested in using those resources. If you're ready to go ahead and check out some cities in Spain, click on this video up here. Otherwise, reach out to Alison using the link below. Thanks, Alison, for your time. Now let's get moving.